My name is Mike, and I'm a sober alcoholic. And yeah, thanks for having me, and thank you everybody for putting your day counts in. And just want to say welcome first and foremost to the people that are just getting here, the people that are just coming back. Um, the best advice that I can give to anybody is please just stay. Give this thing a fair shot. Um, I know myself, I gave alcohol and drugs a very fair shot. I started drinking with the intent of getting drunk when I was 9. I blacked out for the first time when I was 11, and I drank abusively and alcoholically like that until I was 33 years old. And I can say I am very grateful that just last week I celebrated 18 years of sobriety. And I don't say that for, to brag or anything like that. My sobriety is no better than anybody else here. I don't claim to have like better sobriety than other people because the quality of my sobriety today is really up, as Bob said in the beginning, it's based on the choices that I make today. How do I want to live my life today? So that's kind of like where the topic comes about for me is like getting sober, staying sober, and then living sober look very different. In the beginning, I think when I came to AA, I wasn't life wasn't going really great, right? Like nobody comes here because everything in their life is going so well. I mean, myself and everybody's story looks different. For me personally, my life was literally on fire, and I didn't want to live. That's kind of where it took me. It got me to a place. I was a brother, a son, an uncle, a husband, a father to three beautiful young children, and I didn't want to live. I literally felt that there was no way out of the situations that I was in, and that those people, the people in my life, would be better off without me in it. So that's not a really good place to be. The ideas of killing myself wasn't something new, and I come to find out that not everybody thinks that way. And I just thought it was kind of very normal because it was kind of something inside of my head for a really long time. Um, but I found something that took that away. What removed those feelings and those thoughts for me were alcohol and drugs. They were the solution to my life. They made everything inside of Mike okay. I could get through the day, and when the days were really tough and my head was spinning like crazy and I just felt really uncomfortable, nothing that a drink or a drug wouldn't solve, right? And I could even say that just the idea and the thought that I could be drinking or getting something, it just gave me a sense of peace. So when life gets really bad and people are telling you, and you kind of intuitively know, like, I need to stop drinking, or people are saying you should stop drinking. So there's this dilemma within someone like me because I know I want to stop and I need to stop. Why can't I stay stopped? Because someone like me, and I can say that I can say that I'm an alcoholic, right? Because to me, an alcoholic is just somebody that if and when I want to quit entirely, I find it little or impossible to do so. And if when I'm drinking, I have little control over the amount I take, I'm probably an alcoholic. That's kind of the definition as it's summed up, like, in this book, in this literature that we have, called the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, and that's pretty simple. That's a very simple question to ask myself. Like, if when you want to quit entirely, is it hard? Do you find it difficult or impossible to do so? Yes, I did. I found it literally impossible to do so. And if when I'm drinking, do I have little control or no control over the amount I take? Yeah, because once I kick it in motion, even though I can tell myself I'm only going to have a couple, right? I'm just going to have a few just to take the edge off. It was never just a few. A few gives me this little, buzz inside, but I'm not about the little buzz. I want the big, big buzz. That's what I'm going after. I want the effects produced by alcohol. So getting here, my bottom landed me in a rehab, right? And then in that rehab, I kind of started to learn a little bit about this disease that I have, this discomfort that's inside of me. and that there's nothing that I can do. Like what I have come to believe, and I believe this with every fiber of my being, and I can't tell anybody else what to do, but I can tell you what worked for me is like what I found is that I have alcoholism, and when those feelings that I was just describing hit me, I'm walking around with untreated alcoholism. So I need a new prescription basically for that disease that I have, right? Alcohol was the solution for a long time. I'm removing alcohol from my life because I want to stay sober. But how am I supposed to stay sober if I'm plagued with these feelings, right? I get sober, meaning that I stop drinking, right? And if I just stop drinking, I'm not going to live a very fulfilling life. I can tell you that from personal experience because when I just stop drinking, the further away I get from alcohol, the faster the spinning is in my head and the tighter the knot is in my stomach. And I don't want to live like that. The suffering will become too great and I will drink again, period. Proved it to myself countless times because I could get sober because there were plenty of things in my past where fear or would sober me up for a bit. And what kind of fear? Well, you just got arrested again, so you need to do something about this. So okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to drink anymore. I got to get my shit together. Life can't keep going on like this. It's costing you things. The consequences are starting to pile up, so I'm not going to drink anymore. It's going to be different this time. Well, that's the thought, right? A little bit later on, the further away I get from a drink, my mind starts convincing me like, dude, it'll be different this time. Haven't, you've learned, like that you can, and trying to control it, like we can try to do that. And yeah, maybe sometimes I could, maybe the first couple times, it didn't go off the rails, but I can promise you every time in my life, it wasn't too far after that it went off the rails. And sometimes it was the very first times, like, you know what, I haven't drank in a couple months. I'm gonna celebrate, the fact that like I think I got my shit together now, and it would go completely off the rails. So how do I stay sober, right? Um, I know this sounds controversial to some people, and when I got sober this time, I'm really really grateful that there was this man that was kind of placed in my path that told me that I was going to have to do a whole lot more than just not drink because there weren't Zoom meetings when I got sober. There weren't like online meetings and stuff. It was all brick and mortar. And one of the messages that was going around a lot at that time was don't drink and go to meetings. Just don't drink and go to meetings. Now I can misconstrue that to like, hey, all I have to do to stay sober is just don't drink and go to meetings. Don't drink is like the key. Like that's a very good starting point, right? Because I need something to build on top of. Like sobriety and not drinking is basically my foundation. Recovery is going to be the life that I am going to get to build on top of that. And I'm going to get to make my choices in that because not drinking like didn't like the choice was removed from me. Whether I drank or not, how could if I had a choice, with walking around with untreated alcoholism, if I actually had a choice, how come I never chose no? Right? Like I just never chose no. So I had lost the power in choice when I was actively drinking. So the first thing I need to do if I want to like regain some control over my life and actually get to make decisions based on the things that I want to achieve, I have to not drink. So that's really good advice to just don't drink today, right? Like I lose all power once I pick up a drink. But just not drinking and going to meetings, I can promise you because I did this, if that's all I do, I'm going to get to a point where the suffering is too great and I'm going to drink again. So how do I live sober? Staying sober and living sober. Those are the two that I want in my life because that man said to me, he's like, look, man, you don't ever have to feel like this anymore. Okay, tell me how to do that. And it's pretty simple, right? We have this book that kind of lays out some clear-cut directions and how to attain that kind of life. And it's laid out in these steps, right? And there's 12 of them. And I can say to like anybody that is just new here, this is a 12-step program. I would highly implore you to do all 12 steps, to do all 12 steps in order as they're laid out and watch how your life changes. Watch how you just think and feel about your life change. Literally, and you may not notice it first. Other people in your life may start to say things like, wow, you're different, or hey, you look great, because all of a sudden there's some life back in my eyes. And I was a little confused at first. Like, I remember in the beginning people being like, a couple months into sobriety, people were like, oh, Mick, I haven't seen you in a while. You look great. It's like, did I look like shit before? Like, I didn't get it. It's like all of a sudden, like, oh, wow, you look great. I didn't realize that I looked so bad, because I didn't realize that like this, what I looked like on the outside, other people knew. It's funny, like we're always the last ones to know that I really needed help. My problem was I was unable to ask for help. And the times in my life where help was presented to me, I lied. I just flat out fucking lied. I was unable to tell them what was really going on inside of me. And that's a hard place to be, but what this program did for me, if I wanted, like, that's what my friend said to me, how free do you want to be? What kind of life do you actually want to live? Because I can tell you this, there is a life out there on the other side of fear that is really meant for you, a life that you can't even possibly fathom. Like, and that has been so true for me. If I had gotten just what I thought I needed in my life when I first got sober, I would have sold myself way short. Just not drinking, that's the life I probably would have gotten. Is just I wouldn't have drank. Uh, the consequences of from drinking wouldn't have been a part of my life anymore. But the blessings and the promises that we talk about here, I know, I firmly believe they would not have been a part of my life today if that's the only thing that I did. And I know that we all deserve more. Now, isn't that my disease? I have this like addiction of more. Isn't that like kind of what kept me drinking the way that I did? Well, I think that the same goes and it applies to my life, but it's different, right? It's not just about attaining things, like these material things in my life. What I really seek is this fulfillment of just feeling of peace inside, and this ability to connect with other people on a human to human basis, which I couldn't do before because I came into every situation in my life with these already judgments in my head about other people. I already had like all of these things that kept me in the place that I was, but for me, they were like these survival mechanisms, like things that had happened to me when I was very young. I started to build up, like, I had my own tools to survive in life. And I built these walls up around me that enabled me to do that. Like, God forbid I would let anybody hurt me, right? Like, I'm not going to allow you to hurt me. So I have to put up this facade as to who I really am. I'll be whoever you want me to be, right? But I never ever got into the idea of who I was myself. So if I want to live sober, what I need to do is I need to do these steps. I need to get involved. I need to stay. I need to get connected. I need to stay connected, and I need to help other people do the same. Um,